The club hums with life, bass thumping like it has something to prove, lights flickering like they're on a sugar rush. People move like they've been waiting all week just to dance in this exact corner of the universe. In the middle of it all, words start forming, awkwardly trying to squeeze themselves between the beat drops. A guy leans in, clearly thinking he's smoother than he is, and asks Ara if that's really her name, like she'd lie about it while holding a glass of pineapple juice. He tosses in a little grin, voice dropping into what he probably thinks is his charming tone, and suggests they step inside, whatever that means. Ara blinks, brain loading like Wi-Fi in a basement, and pauses long enough to question her entire evening. Okay, hold on. I think we're on different channels here. Her thoughts scramble to find the polite version of absolutely not. Internally, she's already drafting a closing argument like, Your Honor, I was just here for the music and the overpriced drinks. I rest my case. She doesn't say any of that, of course. She just smiles, the kind of smile that says, I pay taxes and read privacy policies, while silently wondering how she ended up having to defend her night out like it's a courtroom. He watches her closely as she shifts, giving him a sideways glance that's half curiosity, half silent quiz. Her voice stays calm, but inside her thoughts are already filing complaints. His face lights up the second she responds, eyebrows jumping like he just got bonus points. Without missing a beat, he starts leading her away, his hand landing on her arm like it's been given permission. She doesn't pull back, but her expression flickers, just enough to give him pause. He tries to smooth it over, tossing out a reminder like that'll fix everything. In her mind, a voice shoots up, sharp, dramatic, and absolutely not here for this rerun. A voice in Ara's head nearly shouts, loud enough to cut through the music, accusing, dramatic, and definitely not in the mood. Her heart skips like it's trying to dodge responsibility. For a second, she wonders if she's already messed up. Maybe she should just pretend this night never happened. Quietly disappear and go back to being invisible. But something inside stiffens, like a quiet part of her finally sitting up straight. She's done playing it safe. Tonight feels different. Maybe it's the music, maybe it's the ridiculous lighting, or maybe it's the fact that she's tired of living in a curated bubble built by someone else. Her mind drifts to the checklist that's shaped her whole life so far. Junior high, girls only. High school, also girls only. College? You guessed it. Even her neighborhood feels like it's been handpicked for a quiet, controlled existence. She's lived in the same district for more than 10 years, never straying far, always coloring inside the lines. And those lines? Her dad drew them all. The rules he set weren't just suggestions, they were practically carved into the family wall. She remembers one of his classic speeches, the kind that came with no exit button. His voice comes back crystal clear, like an unwanted ringtone. In his world, hair stays black, heels stay in the store, skirts must touch your knees like they're best friends, and pants are strictly for running laps or climbing mountains. No exceptions, no excuses, and definitely no fun until after dinner, assuming you're even allowed out before then. In her mind, the usual lecture plays like an old voicemail that never gets deleted. She's reminded, once again, that she's Baekmunyeol's daughter, president of So-In Construction Group, unofficial rulemaker of her entire life, and self-appointed style coach for a future she didn't ask for. He expects her to look flawless 24/7 like she might bump into a rich husband in the produce aisle. The thought makes her snort internally. Her dad, once a full-time gangster and now suddenly a model citizen, throws around morals like confetti. But tonight feels different. There's no Shin Tae-yi lurking nearby with his usual, I'm not watching you, but I am face. Instead, she's got a new bodyguard. Someone who already tripped on the way in and lost track of her the moment she blinked. That tiny gap in security was all she needed. One little mistake on his part turned into her first real taste of freedom. The club, the noise, her friends, it's all stolen time, a rare moment that doesn't belong to anyone else. She knows this escape won't last. If that political marriage actually happens, her future will be one long photo op in a fancy house with no doors, just gold bars disguised as window frames. So she lets herself enjoy it, holds on to the feeling like it might slip through her fingers. The man she's with leads her to a room marked with a glowing number 4. acting like this is some kind of romantic grand finale. His voice drops again, clearly trying to sound deep and caring. Ara opens her mouth, maybe to explain, maybe to stall, but he's already decided that the moment needs a kiss. It lands before she can finish her sentence, fast and unexpected, like a plot twist in a drama she didn't sign up for. The kiss pulls her in before she can think twice, something soft and unfamiliar blooming where her usual guard should be, and for a second she lets herself feel it, just long enough to admit he's good at this. Too good, probably. He pulls back with that look some guys practice in the mirror, throwing compliments like confetti, clearly enjoying the sound of his own voice. She cuts in, not interested in another speech, cheeks warming with something between flustered and bold. He laughs like he's won something, moves closer again, hands sliding up like they've been given instructions. Her mind stumbles, a small alarm going off as she tries to catch her breath, voice barely managing a protest. Then, before anything else can happen, a voice slams into the room like a bucket of cold water, sharp and familiar, calling her out before she can even process it. Her heart flips as her eyes land on the figure in the doorway, recognition hitting hard and fast, made worse by the second person stepping in right behind him. The man who enters doesn't walk. He arrives, like the room just decided to let him exist in it. Dressed in a black suit that probably costs more than Ara's monthly allowance, he stands tall, broad-shouldered, and built like he could bench press a car just to pass the time. His face stays unreadable, like he's mastered the art of giving nothing away, not even a blink without permission. That's Namgung Yoon, Baekmun Yeol's most loyal enforcer, the Doberman who follows orders like their sacred text. Her brain short-circuits at the sight. Of all the people her father could have sent, it had to be him. The one person she swore she'd buried 5 years ago, back when he vanished without warning. Her first love, looking like he never left her thoughts for a single day. She manages to speak, voice shaky but holding on, asking what any normal person would when their past walks in mid-crisis. Inside, her thoughts are louder than the club music, wishing she could press pause and just stare at him a little longer. But Yoon doesn't waste time. His tone is calm, formal, like this is just another day on the job and not a surprise episode of her emotional drama. The guy she was with starts barking, clearly not understanding the shift in power. He barely finishes his sentence before Yoon steps forward without so much as a warning, grabs him like a misbehaving prop, and hauls him out like he's taking out the trash. The man barely gets out a protest before he's tossed into a chair like he's part of the furniture. Ara jumps in, face full of concern, reminding Yoon that this guy is technically a lawyer. Yoon doesn't flinch, not impressed by job titles or courtroom drama. Ara turns, still trying to piece it all together, asking how they even found her. Before she can go deeper, Tae chimes in with his usual dry humor, pointing out there might be more urgent things than tracking apps or mysterious timing. She stares, confused, until he helpfully gestures toward her dress, which is still halfway to disaster. His tone doesn't change, but the message lands hard. Her father wouldn't exactly call this a proud parenting moment. Ara glances down, immediately realizing the problem, and yanks her dress back into place like it betrayed her. She mumbles to herself, still trying to figure out how it even ended up that high. Yoon, ever the knight in tailored armor, steps forward and places his jacket around her shoulders without hesitation, like he keeps it ready for emergency fashion rescues. His voice stays calm, stating that she was moments away from getting treated badly by someone who clearly doesn't deserve her time. The words hit a nerve. Ara tenses, not about to be cast as some damsel in distress. She pushes back, reminding him that this wasn't some accident. She chose to be here, even if it didn't end the way she planned. The lawyer, still trying to recover his dignity and maybe a bit of balance, shoots up with more attitude than common sense. His voice is loud, shaky, and full of that specific kind of courage that only shows up after being humiliated. Yoon doesn't even blink, eyes locked on him like he's already calculated 10 different ways this is going to end. Instead of answering, he calmly gives Tae an order, tone so casual it feels like he's asking for the lights to be turned off. Tae shrugs, mutters a quick response, and closes the door without fuss, like they've done this routine 100 times. Yoon starts putting on gloves, slow and deliberate, like he's about to perform surgery or handle a priceless artifact. Ara's voice cuts in, trying to understand where this is headed, but part of her already knows. Unlike Taeyi, who always has one foot in the chaos, Yoon moves like someone who sees 5 steps ahead. She tells herself she'll take responsibility, that this mess is hers, but her confidence wavers the second the lawyer decides to go full action movie. He lunges, yelling something that sounds brave in theory but comes out more like a bad improv line. His "hya" echoes in the room right before everything shifts again. Yoon barely flinches as the lawyer charges at him like someone who's seen too many action movies. With a smooth sidestep, Yoon grabs the guy's head and slams it against the wall, making sure it's a memorable moment for him. The lawyer gurgles a shout of frustration, muffled by the impact, and tries to struggle as Yoon lands a solid punch to his jaw, the kind that makes you reconsider your career choices. Ara's panic spikes, and she's already reaching for Yoon's arm, a silent plea for him to stop, but Yoon doesn't budge, his focus locked on the lawyer. His voice is cold, controlled, like this is just another Tuesday. He reminds her that this is all about the president's orders, and no one gets to touch her without consequences. Ara's heart sinks as she tries to reason with him. It's my fault, she thinks, realizing that she started the whole mess by kissing the guy in the first place. She protests, but Yoon's grip on the situation doesn't loosen. He's unshaken, calm in the chaos. He insists that no disrespect can go unpunished, even if her version of the event was a bit more kiss and run than he might prefer. But Ara's frustration starts bubbling over. I only kissed him, she snaps, feeling the weight of the ridiculousness of it all. Before she can get the last word in, Yoon delivers another punch, unfazed, his face as unreadable as ever. Then, with a voice tinged with something like disappointment, he addresses her again, asking if she's planning on letting the incompetent bodyguard off the hook, or if she's secretly trying to get him into trouble. Ara feels her own emotions rise, the moment becoming more of a powder keg with every word. Do you even know how I've felt up until now? She shoots back, her voice carrying the weight of everything she's been holding in. Ara's thoughts race as she looks at Yoon, questions filling her mind. Where did you go all this time? What have you been doing? She can't help but feel the distance between them, and the silence feels even heavier. Shin Tae-yi places a hand on Yoon's shoulder, his voice sharp as he interrupts the moment. Yoon's response is quick and final, as if this situation is already closed in his mind. Ara feels the weight of realization sink in. Yoon has changed. He's no longer the person I once knew. His stern voice cuts through her thoughts, reminding her of her father. Yoon's fully aligned with him now. She thinks as they leave the club, her friends waiting for her outside. Their worried faces greet her, one rushing toward her, concern clear. She reassures them, but the guilt lingers. Then, Shin Tae-yi appears, dragging the battered lawyer behind him, looking like he's been through a storm. The sight churns her stomach, the fear in her friend's eyes making her feel even worse. The scene brings back memories of similar moments from her past. Ara wonders if her friends are afraid to be seen with her. She feels a familiar loneliness creeping in and realizes she doesn't want to drag them into this world. The anxiety tightens in her chest, and she wonders if she'll lose her friends again. She tries to reassure them but is interrupted by Yoon, who wants to leave. Ara quickly tells him to wait, wanting to talk to her friends for a few more minutes. Later, she tells them she's already called and paid for a taxi, and they say their goodbyes. As the taxi drives off, Ara notices something unfamiliar on the back of her phone, a tracking device. The discovery takes her back to a memory when Shin Tae-yi had sneaked out of her room. She had questioned him about it, but his vague answer now seems suspicious. She realizes that her father must have had something to do with it. Ara realizes only one person could have ordered the tracking app to be installed on her phone. My lady, we must leave now. The president is waiting for you, Yoon says firmly. In a burst of anger, Ara slaps him across the face. Tears well up in her eyes as she glares at him, her voice shaking with betrayal. It was you, wasn't it? You told my father, didn't you? You vile bastard, she mutters before turning and getting into the car. Back inside her home, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Ara's father's slap left her reeling, the sting of it still fresh as his anger filled the room. He raged about her resemblance to her mother, mentioning how a night of punishment wouldn't be enough, but holding back for the sake of tomorrow's importance. A maid timidly entered, offering a cold compress, her eyes lingering on Ara's bruised face. After handing it to Yoon, the maid quickly withdrew, leaving the two of them alone. Her father took the compress from Yoon and offered it to Ara. She grabbed it from his hand, her eyes full of resentment as she pressed it against her throbbing cheek. "You evil bastard," she thought, bitterness flooding her as she turned her anger on Yoon. "You're the one who reports everything to him. This is your fault." The coldness of the compress did little to numb the ache, but it did give her a brief moment of clarity. "Maybe I'd feel better if I just froze to death," she mused, but then a flicker of resolve lit inside her. "No, there's something I have to protect." Her father's voice cuts through the tension, a mix of anger and curiosity. Ara wonders what's going through his mind, knowing he's probably focused on the daughter's product he's been planning for her. She stays silent. He presses on, feigning concern. "I was shocked when Chief Nam told me about your disappearance. Do you realize what could happen if rumors start about you?" "No rumors will spread," Ara answers flatly, her tone emotionless. He explodes. "Everything I've worked for is on the brink of collapse. Your recklessness almost ruined everything." She gasps softly, feeling the pain in her cheek. "I have to take it," she thinks bitterly. "It's no surprise. He's always telling people how perfect I am, how my only flaw is being too shy to find a suitable husband." Her father's words hang in the air, his expectations clear. Ara has never been the perfect daughter, the one who always comes home before sunset and turns down social invites to stay in with a book. He built a perfect version of her in his mind, and she never fit. "Don't go out tomorrow, stay home and rest. Don't go to school either, understand?" he orders. "I've already arranged for Chief Kim to do your hair and Chief Nam to give you a massage. And remember, I'll be leaving for Japan on Saturday for a family gathering." He turns and leaves, the door closing heavily behind him. Ara fights to keep the tears at bay, but they finally fall, trailing down her bruised cheek. She walks to her room, still holding the cold compress. She reaches for the door to lock herself away, but Yoon steps in her way. "What the hell? Get out! Did you not hear me? Are you deaf?" she yells, her voice raw with pain and anger. Yoon stands firm as he steps into her room. Ara falls to the floor, eyes filled with pain. She refuses the compress, snapping at him to stay away. She protests, upset about her future and the lack of control over it. She wants to be left alone, frustrated with the attention she's receiving. Yoon addresses her with formal respect, but there's something different in his tone. She questions him, feeling hurt and confused, wondering where he's been and why he left without a word. She admits her feelings for him, then expresses anger at his loyalty to her father. She accuses him of seeing her as just a tool of her father's plans. He denies it, but she presses him about his role in reporting to her father. Yoon's voice remains steady as he defends his actions, claiming they're for Ara's benefit. Ara, visibly upset, gestures to her swollen cheek and questions whether he truly wanted to see her father strike her. Yoon quickly denies it, but Ara's frustration grows. She accuses him of reporting everything to her father, unable to understand why he's doing this. Yoon tries to explain, saying it's to protect her from the dangers of the world. Ara scoffs at the idea, pointing out that his actions have only led to more harm. He calmly repeats that her face will bruise more if she doesn't apply the compress. She snaps, hurling hurtful words at him, overwhelmed with raw emotion. Her father checks on her, asking about her condition, and Yoon responds that she's just fallen asleep. Her father expresses concern about Ara's impulsive behavior and fears she might cause trouble like her mother did. Yoon reassures him that won't happen again and offers to take full responsibility for Ara. Her father, slightly concerned about Yoon's workload, agrees that it's safer for him to be her primary guardian, giving Yoon the task of watching over her more closely from now on. Yoon accepts the responsibility with gratitude, relieved to have his father's trust. Her father expresses rare appreciation, telling Yoon he's the most dependable person he knows. Privately, he thinks Yoon is like a loyal dog, always reliable, and the son of a minor subordinate who's proven himself intelligent and hardworking. He praises Yoon for never overstepping his boundaries and places his full trust in him. Yoon promises to never fail him, bowing respectfully. Later, Yoon checks into the Dot Hotel, directly across from Ara's family estate. After securing his door, his phone rings. He answers, calmly stating that he's arrived safely and rested for 3 hours. He's used to sleeping so little and feels emotionally drained from the day. He reassures the caller, mentioning an issue that was resolved smoothly, making him more trusted by the president. As he gazes at Ara's mansion, he silently reflects that this is just the beginning. The next morning, Ara is gently awakened by her maid, who comments on how much better her cheek looks. Ara feels some relief upon seeing her reflection, thinking she looks presentable. The maid credits Chief Nam for his diligent care. Ara then asks about Yoon, curious despite her anger. The maid reveals that Yoon spent the night bringing fresh cold compresses to her room. Surprised, Ara mutters his name, but quickly dismisses the thought, assuming Yoon's actions were driven by guilt, not concern for her. She asks her maid where Yoon is, and the maid informs her that Yoon left early with the president. There's an urgent matter, her maid says, but Ara only sighs, feeling disappointed. She wishes she didn't have to see Chief Nam again. I'd rather not, she thinks as she lies back in bed. She's stuck at home because of him, and it feels like he's doing everything he can to hide the bruise from the world. Her maid applies a cream to her face, explaining it'll shrink her pores and firm her skin, but Ara barely hears. Soon, Chief Kim enters with enthusiasm, talking about how she styled actress Kim's hair and how Ara will look stunning in the same style. After finishing with Ara's hair, she picks out an outfit that she claims will be perfect, something the president will love. You look gorgeous, Chief Kim says, admiring Ara in the mirror. But Ara's focus drifts, staring at her reflection, lost in thought. Who is this person I see? The sound of a ball rolling to her feet snaps her back to reality. Looking down, she smiles for the first time that day, seeing her puppy, a reminder of simpler times. Ara had raised Mint since she was 14. Stroking the dog's fur, she thought about how Mint had been her constant companion when everything else had felt like it was falling apart. If it weren't for Mint, I might have given up by now. After my brother and mother left, my father became more controlling. Yoon protected me, but then he left too. She whispered to Mint, "You're the only one I have left. I'll protect you until you're free to do whatever you want." Outside, the sounds of an excavator demolishing a building echoed through the air as protests broke out. A man nearby spoke. "This is a relief. I'm building a resort here, and they were refusing to move without a reason." Another person chimed in. "President Baek, congratulations." Ara's father, standing nearby, smiled politely. "Ah, Director Kim, you're here." Director Kim, impressed, asked, "How did you manage to find the owner's weakness and use it to your advantage?" "Advantage? What advantage?" President Baek chuckled lightly. "Careful, someone might overhear and misunderstand." President Baek explained that he had merely discussed the illegal activities and that his trusted right-hand man had efficiently handled things. Director Kim, noticing Yoon, gestured toward him. He greeted Yoon, recalling his past as a bright young lawyer from University S, before learning he had graduated from University Y in the U.S. President Baek took pride in Yoon's achievements, mentioning his experience at a top law firm before returning home. Director Kim, impressed, acknowledged Yoon's credentials, understanding why President Baek placed so much trust in him. As they headed to the car, President Baek thought about Yoon's skills and the rapid expansion of So-In Group, thanks to a U.S. investor secured by Yoon. Once in the car, Yoon handed over a file with details for the next phase of their project, recommended by Lady Jung. President Baek reviewed the file with interest. "As expected, Ellie Jung is very reliable," he commented. "She wants to remodel the seaside resort she recently acquired. I understand there's a conflict with a foreign construction company over the design?" Yoon confirmed, explaining that the company disagreed with his recommendations, making it hard to trust him. President Baek assured Yoon that he was the only one who truly understood his vision. "By the way, what happened to the man who tried to harm Ara last night? The one who claimed to be a lawyer?" he asked. Yoon reassured him, saying the man wasn't a lawyer and that everything was under control. Meanwhile, at the Baek residence, Shin Tae-yi handed Ara a small card, explaining it was the contact of the man who'd tried to take advantage of her the night before. Tae-yi observed Ara with a critical eye. "Isn't it foolish to be so trusting?" he asked, but Ara shot back, irritation clear in her voice. "What do you know?" she snapped. "When is Yoon coming back?" she asked, the tone shifting to one of longing. Tae-yi said it would be late and that she'd have to eat alone. Ara noticed Tae-yi's attire and asked if he was going out. He confirmed that he was accompanying Tiffany, her father's mistress, to the mall. "Are you really going with her again?" Ara asked, disbelieving. "I'm just driving her," Tae-yi said, his face blank as he prepared to leave. "See you tomorrow," he added, stepping out. Past midnight, the sound of a television show filled the room. The screen suddenly went dark when Yoon switched it off. "Eh? What? Why'd you turn it off?" Ara asked, surprised and annoyed. Yoon calmly explained it was past her bedtime. Ara snapped back that she knew that, but was frustrated about not being able to sleep. He patiently told her watching TV would disrupt her rest. She demanded the remote, her frustration growing. Yoon remained firm, saying staying up late wasn't good for her, and it was time to prepare for bed. Ara insisted, wanting the remote, and worried about her father finding out she was still awake. Yoon stood his ground, reminding her to lie down. Ara playfully teased about the bed, suggesting Yoon should join her if he was so insistent on her sleeping. She reflected on how long Yoon had been around, knowing only that he had always been there because her father trusted him. Thanks for tuning in. If you're hooked and want more, please comment and subscribe. Your comments and subscriptions fuel my motivation to continue. I'll see you in the next part.